Welcome to Yahweh teaching. We have a special event today. I'm Charity and this is Eric, and we have with us Hannah that is visiting to ask some questions. And so today we're going to go through some questions, and we'll let Hannah ask us some questions, and then we'll provide answers from the scripture, and we'll let Ruach HaKodesh answer the questions. So join us with this, and if you have any questions from what we record, post those in the comments, and we will address them in a later video. So welcome, Hannah. We appreciate you coming and participating with us, and talking about things that I think everybody's asking. We all read the scripture with the intent to want to know more.
Yeah, but we don't always understand it.
No.
So speaking of, I think in one of my questions, like strongholds. So can our words put strongholds over us? And what is a stronghold? Because I hear that a lot. Like, what is a stronghold? And then how can our words either create it or release it from our lives?
I love that. I love that question, actually, because I find it so fun. Because there's words that are in the scripture that we don't really use today, right? And so people make up all kinds of things of what they think it means. And if you look at 2 Corinthians 10:4, that's where it uses the word stronghold, and it's G3794, meaning a castle, is what the word means. And so it's translated in King James as strongholds, but the Greek word is a castle. And I love the imagery of that, because think about a castle. And well, here, before I do that, let's read that scripture, 2 Corinthians 10:4, just for the sake of the reference, so people understand what the scripture is that we're looking at. And there's actually a lot of bad words in this scripture that are not translated very nicely. So I highly recommend you use your Strongs and fix some of the words, because it'll give a much better connotation of what it says. But so it's in the middle of a sentence, and it says, "For the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds." And so when you look at that last word, it says pulling down of castles is what strongholds would translate to. Well, how do you pull down a castle? I mean,
it's pretty tough.
Like, think about castles, and they've got a moat, and they've got a wall, and they've got towers in them, and you've got soldiers, and you got all this stuff.
Pull down castles is Jericho fell.
Right?
It was all Yahweh. It had nothing to do with the people. They just did what Yahweh said to do.
And that's such a great story, because what you're saying is actually the solution to how we pull down strongholds. So tell the story of Jericho.
So Jacob went to just Aaron. So when Yahweh told Aaron to go around Jericho one time every day for 7 days, and then 7 times on the 7th day, and then blow a shofar. Very, very important point that people mostly miss about the stories. He told them not to say a word. Nothing. Don't say anything. And why would you not say anything?
Go march around the city and don't talk.
Don't talk. And that's because we can cancel what Yahweh's doing with our own words, because we have dominion over this place. So if they were saying, "This is stupid, we're not going to walk around this isn't going to do anything," if they had said that, it wouldn't have worked. But Aaron was very clear: don't say anything when you go around the castle, essentially, the Jericho. So when they went around the Jericho 7 times, and then the 7th day they did 7 times, then they blew the shofar, the walls fell down, and the walls fell down because Yahweh knocked down the walls, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the imagery there is amazing, right? Because what this reference is saying to us in 2 Corinthians is that you're building castles in your mind. And these castles are related to your flesh. So when it uses that word carnal, it's talking about your flesh. So because of the lust of our flesh, we're creating these castles in our mind. And we're building them up into these strong, big towers inside our mind. And we're not letting anybody in. We're not letting any words in. We're not letting Yahweh's truth to get in because we created a castle around a concept. And it is all about thoughts. It's about an idea. So you got an idea in your head that, just to use the reference we were using earlier, right? To continue that thought, you get an idea in your head that Yahweh is going to give you a sickness to teach you a lesson. And then you build a castle around it. And everything that you read, you just add to that castle to make it stronger.
Another stronghold is the cessationists think that the miracles stopped with the apostles. That's not true. It didn't stop with the apostles.
Right.
Miracles happen all the time.
Right.
We just don't see them in some
But you won't see them if you got a stronghold.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you've built a tower up around your mind, and now I can't see anything because I got something in front of my face.
Yeah. Yep.
And that's why it's so important to renew your mind
Yes.
with the truth
Yes.
to break down those castles, correct?
Yes.
Exactly. Because another word for strongholds would be stinking thinking.
Yeah. Or
Right?
sacred cows.
Or sacred cows.
And if you got sacred cows, the cows poop, so you're going to be stepping in poo every now and then, and it's going to cause problems.
You build a wall and you won't go outside that wall, and you put the cows on the inside of the wall, it's going to get really messy.
Yeah.
And you're going to get all these bad things that are going to happen to your house because you put wrong ideas inside your house. And then that's going to happen in your life.
Yeah. Wrong ideas are like cows. They bring other wrong ideas, and if you got one wrong idea, it's going to continue to propagate.
So yes. So renewing your mind, right? Is what was I? I got two scriptures here that I think really kind of help us with understanding how to get rid of the strongholds. Is Romans 8:6 and John 8:31 and 32, and the simplicity of them is don't incline. The Romans 8 scripture is don't incline yourself to be thinking about yourself, about your body, but incline yourself to be thinking about Yahweh. And with him comes the breath of light or light and peace. And so if you're continually thinking about Yahweh and his truth and trying to keep getting back to truth, then you're not going to be so concerned about your flesh and the strongholds that you've created, and you'll be looking for the truth. And the truth then will set you free, which is John 8:31 and 32, is that, and you shall know the truth, and the truth will liberate you. So it says the truth will set you free in the King James, but that word free is actually to liberate. Well, I like that better than free because it's setting you free in every aspect of your life. It's not just in one area. It's when you're liberated from bondage in your mind, in your body, in your eternity, in your finances, in your relationships, in your work, in everything. And so that's why truth is so important for us to understand, is because the truth is what's going to actually cause us to be free of the curse. And that's what 1 Peter 2:24, when you fix some of the words in that scripture, the end of it, it's not, the way it's written is by his stripes you were healed. But actually it says by the impalement of Yehoshua you were released of the curse by the breath of Ruach HaKodesh. Well, if I'm released of the curse, then that means everything that Yahweh cursed humanity with at the beginning when Adam and Eve sinned, I'm now released of.
Yep.
And part of that was getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden.
Mm-hmm.
So we now have access to get back into the Garden of Eden. And we don't have to live in thorns and thistles anymore. We don't have to toil in the ground the way we were cursed. We don't have to die in our sin anymore. We actually can walk in truth, because sin, actually, that which is not born of faith is sin. And that's the end of Romans 8:14. And the very last verse in Romans 8:14 it says that which is not born of faith is sin. When you look at that word faith, it's the word truth. It's ultimate truth. So it's really that which is not born of truth is sin, which would mean that anything that is not truth is a lie. So therefore sin is a lie, which totally correlates to the original sin. Is it all started with a lie?
Mm-hmm. Did
Right.
God really say that?
Well, that was the question.
Mm-hmm.
And then the enemy's answer was, you shall not surely die. And what the enemy did in the first place, when falling from being an archangel, right, was because he wanted the worship to come to him. The devil wanted to be glorified the same way Yahweh was being glorified, right? Well, he was the light bringer. That was his job, was to bring the light to the earth. His lie was, he wanted to be the light itself, not bring the light. And so all sin starts with a lie. And isn't that then fascinating? Because if I can find the truth, then I can get rid of the sin. Because when you find out the truth, when you find out the truth, then you don't have to be stuck by the sin, by the lie. You don't have to be stuck by the lie anymore.